Well, can you believe we're almost halfway through this week and working our way through it? We've talked about your health. We've talked about the health of the economy. And now we're going to talk about the health of your freedom of speech. Which, look, everything, I am a absolutist when it comes to free speech. There's just no, I mean, that's it. I don't have to like what you're saying. I don't have to like it at all. But it's your right to say it. You want to offend me, whatever it might be, irritate me, whatever. I'm all good with it. But so many people aren't anymore. They don't have to, oh, it's only going to be happy talk. We can't have this kind of mean speech and hate speech, and that should be illegal. Wrong. Look what's happening in the UK. Tim Sandefur is the vice president for legal affairs at the Goldwater Institute's Scharf-Norton Center for Constitutional Litigation and holds the Duncan chair in constitutional government. Tim, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
I've said, and I got laughed at by some of my friends like Esquire Bob, one of my attorney friends, who said, free speech isn't under attack in America. He's laughed about it for years. It is under attack, has been for a long time, and it comes in a lot of different ways. First of all, they can cancel you, which is a complete affront to free speech. They can not cover a story at all, which I think is another affront to free speech in a different sort of way. Well, what are you seeing out there that concerns you at the Goldwater Institute?
Well, one of the areas where freedom of speech is sharply under attack is your right to support individuals or organizations that you agree with, nonprofit groups such as the Goldwater Institute or other organizations that out there, every state has their own free market organization and people donate their money to these organizations, or advocacy groups. And unfortunately, what we're seeing in a lot of places is the government coming in with laws that force people to turn over their names and personal information, even their employment information, to be placed on a publicly accessible government list anytime they contribute to a so-called political organization. And people are afraid to do that because, of course, once your information is out there, people can target you for harassment and retaliation and even violence. In the wake of the Proposition 8 campaign in California several years ago, some opponents even made a Google Maps list of the home addresses of people who had donated money to the Yes campaign in order to enable people to go and harass them and attack them and vandalize their cars and their homes and their churches and things like that. And it's only gotten worse in the years since. So at the Goldwater Institute, we actually have a case coming up in a few days against the constitutionality of an Arizona state law that forces you to put your name and other information on a public government list when you donate to these organizations. We say that violates the constitutional protections for freedom of speech and privacy.
Yeah, so they put your name on the list. Here you are. You've contributed to whatever it is. Maybe it's an abortion rights or not abortion rights or pro-life, whatever it is. Either side of the conversation doesn't matter, but only one side of the ledger actually gets targeted, don't they? One side, Tim, not both.
Oh, it does seem to be overwhelmingly that it's conservative organizations that are targeted for this. And the reason why is ideological on the left, right? The left thinks that conservative or free market ideas are all just a sham, that secret billionaires behind the scenes are manipulating the system. And if they didn't really exist, why then we would have a proletarian socialist utopia or something like this. And so you always hear the mantra, get money out of politics. And yet the only way you can get money out of politics is to get the politics out of the money. The reason why people spend so much money in trying to influence the government is because they expect to profit from that in some way. But if the government were to limit itself to its constitutional duties, which is protecting individual rights, instead of redistributing wealth and other opportunities, then people wouldn't invest their time and money in trying to influence the government that way. So what you see on the left is this effort to constantly stamp out special interest in legislation, all this sort of thing. Well, you only have that because of government interference in the economy. Now, in Arizona, what you mentioned abortion, obviously that's a very hot issue here as elsewhere. Our clients in this lawsuit include a conservative organization that's very anti-abortion, and they are, afraid of speaking their minds because they have been targeted for harassment. Their members have been targeted for harassment. The organization itself has been targeted. And the more you force people to give up their privacy rights as the cost of doing free speech, the more you either put a target on people's back or you just make them afraid to speak out at all, which we call a chilling effect in the legal
Which is the
jargon.
goal, I think. So
Yeah.
where are we in this Prop 211, this Arizona law? Where are we in the process? It has to be stamped out, because this sort of thing, I mean, this just chills free speech, puts a deep freeze is what it does. Where are we in the process? What are your expectations?
Well, we sued challenging the constitutionality of this mandate under the state constitution. You know, you spoke about free speech earlier. Most
Right.
state constitutions actually protect free speech more than the federal constitution does. So we've gone to court, and we're now going to be arguing in the Arizona Supreme Court on the 11th against the constitutionality of this, not just under the state free speech protection, but also under the state privacy right, because many state constitutions, including Arizona's, protect the right of privacy. And, you know, the federal constitution is silent on that question. And so we say this violates, ignore the First Amendment for now, this violates our state constitutional rights. And we see that as a path in other states to make these kinds of arguments, to say, you know, we should have the right to speak our minds without having to sacrifice our privacy as the cost of doing so.
Yeah. I think that's right. Our privacy should not be sacrificed on the altar of this guy wants to know what you're up to. That's nonsense. Tim, greatly appreciate
People
you being
speak
here.
about transparency, and
Sure.
our rule is transparency is for government, privacy is for people.
You know, I agree with that. If I give $1 to a political group, it's really none of your business. Honestly.
And as you said, stripping people of their privacy is sort of a scare tactic on the other side,
It
right?
is.
We saw this used almost a century ago. This has been used
Been done
during the
time and
civil
again.
rights movement of the 60s.
I got to leave it there. You keep us updated, would you please?
Absolutely.
On how
Thanks
this
for having
case
me.
plays out. Very important. Tim Sandefur, Vice President, Legal Affairs at the Goldwater Institute, Scharf-Norton Center for Constitutional Rights. Tim, thank you. Greatly appreciate it. All right, we got to jump here. I've got Brock around the corner. Don't go anywhere. It's the Steve Gruber Show.